You may be seated this morning. Thank you, team. Great worship. Really appreciate everything you do and the way you lead us. Now I just got to get used to the lights and we're away. Amen. For those who don't know me, I am technically known as Pastor Robert, but you can call me whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Some of you, I realised this morning, it's a little while since I've been on the stage, and so there's probably a number of people here that haven't actually heard me or seen me in this role. I've been a pastor for over 40 plus years, and I've preached many times, and it seems like nowadays that Tim gets me to preach when he's not here. And I think there's two reasons for that. Number one, he's had to listen to me his whole life. And for those that don't know, Pastor Tim is my son, or nowadays I'm his dad. And so, And the other reason is that because he's not here, when I upset you with my preaching, you send your emails to either Pastor Lindy or Pastor Keith. And you can get their email address at the barrels at the back after the service. And also, as I said to Mark before, he'll be preaching next week, which I'm really looking forward to. So I said to him, that's good. You get to clean up everything that I say. So we've been sharing on this truth or this series of real love. And today I want to take it into the realm of love in today's world. We live in a time where culturally a lot of things are shifting and moving, and there's not a lot of, let's say, solidity sometimes about our tradition, our heritage, some of the things that we believe, and I think it's important that we try and understand how we can truly love in today's world. We can't avoid the political and the cultural situations that are around about us, and that's no different from Jesus' time or any other time in history. We have to be those people that can truly represent what the love of Jesus Christ looks like, what the love of God looks like, but in this time, with the situations that we live with right now. So when we begin to look at love or try to understand love or what love is, we portray it in terms of the traits or the characteristics through which it is expressed. Even the Bible does this. Take 1 Corinthians 13, a chapter that you probably all know reasonably well. It says, from verse 4, it says, love is patient and kind. And I'm reading from the Living Bible, not the New Living in this. Never jealous or envious, never boastful or proud, never haughty or selfish or rude. Love does not demand its own way. It is not irritable or touchy. It does not hold grudges and will hardly even notice when others do wrong. It's never glad about injustice, but rejoices whenever truth wins out. If you love someone, you will be loyal to them no matter what the cost. You will always believe in them, always expect the best from them, and always stand your ground in defending them. So all of these characteristics are traits through which we express love. But the trouble with that is they don't actually define what love is. It's a bit like saying that you know me. That is the true, fundamental, deep me, by having observed even over years or through many encounters what I do. And I want to assure you this morning that you know neither love nor me to the depths that it can be known, just through observation of these things. So with that background, I want to look at today's subject then of that. And the dilemma is, for me, can we be loving in today's world without accepting the beliefs, the values, the ideas, the ideologies of other people that we don't agree with and that don't agree with us? And that's a real challenge. Can I, as a person, genuinely love someone whose views and perspectives differ probably quite considerably from mine? Could I love someone who voted for the Greens? And probably more importantly, or more than that, is could someone who voted for the Greens love me with my perspectives? And that's, in sense, an encapsulation of the real world that we live in. We all have ideologies, we all have beliefs, we all have perceptions that differ wildly from one another. And we want to be able to know how we can love one another in that context. We have to, if the love of Jesus Christ, if the love of God is going to be real and manifest in a real way, it has to be manifest within those contexts, because that is the reality of the world in which we live. So in our text, it says this. This is the text that Tim based this series on in Romans chapter 12, verse 9 and 10. It says, "Don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Hold tight to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honouring each other." And within that, well, we talk about love in terms of traits. There are 4 benchmarks that I want to just throw out at you this morning. I'm not really going to go into a huge amount of depth, but I am going to try to explain them a little bit, which help us, benchmarks help us define what is and what isn't love. And there are many things, and even within the church, I would say, things that sometimes we believe are love, but they don't actually line up with the standard of what true or real love is. Let me quickly give you the 4 benchmarks, and then I'll touch on them briefly, and then I want to move on to a 5th element. First of all, love must be genuine. Love must pursue the moral good. Love must be devoted to building lasting relationships. And love must take the lead in valuing people. So as we delve into that a little bit, let me read it from a different translation. And I want to do that simply because there are translations which are paraphrases which give us the idea, and there are translations of the Bible which try to give us the idea of what's saying, but stay close to the original language. And one of the better ones of that is the New American Standard Bible. And it says this: love, the same verses, love must be free of hypocrisy, detest what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another in brotherly love, give preference to one another in honour. So it says in these 4 benchmarks, first of all, first benchmark, love must be free from hypocrisy. Now, the word hypocrisy is a word that we have transliterated literally from the Greek. The Greek word is what we would call hypocrite. It's literally, we changed a couple of letters through the centuries to get exactly the same word. And what that word portrayed, or what it was in the Greek, a hypocrite was an actor, a stage actor. And we know from history that most cultures portrayed their traditions, their history, their myths, their beliefs, their morals, in the form of stories. And those stories were generally told in some form or another through music, drama, that kind of thing. So within the Greek culture, they used to perform, and many cultures do this in one form or another, they used to perform behind a big mask. You've seen actors, you've seen ancient cultures, you've seen even modern plays where people wear a mask. And so this term was to interpret from under or behind the mask. And of course, over the years, it has been remodeled to, in a figurative sense, to say that a hypocrite is one who performs or lets you see or portrays what they want you to see from behind a mask. And so what it's saying to us in this is that if we really want to love, number one, we've got to not love from behind the mask. We've not got to portray one thing when we're in public and something else when we're at home. We can't be two-faced. Quite literally, we cannot be two-faced in our presentation of and our expression of what love is. It's saying to us that if you want to love, if you want to be loved, you've got to expose the real person. You've got to be vulnerable. You've got to be authentic, is that word. Love has to be authentic. And really our text portrays that when it says, don't pretend to be loved. Don't pretend to love. Your love has to be real. Secondly, very quickly, detest what is evil and cling to what is good. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, or I'm going to run out of time this morning. But essentially, one of the hallmarks, one of the benchmarks of love is moral goodness. You cannot love, you cannot express love in a way that is evil or manipulative or that is not aimed at the moral good of another, and in a way that is morally good from our perspective. You can't do something corrupt and call it loving, is what this is saying. So as a benchmark, love has to be, and it is, a moral virtue. Matter of fact, from a biblical standpoint, it is the highest or the greatest of all virtues. It is the virtue by which all other virtues are to be judged and assessed. And then it says, be devoted to one another in brotherly love. And I just want to encourage in this, it is built, love aims at building long-lasting, stable relationships. You can probably draw a whole bunch of other stuff out of this, but love, genuine love, real love, it values building relationships. And again, I would encourage you this morning, particularly in today's society, don't throw away good friendships and family relationships. Don't let go of those things easily. I think there is a great danger in today's world of treating too lightly the relationships that are important for our growth and development and stability within society. Look, building relationships is hard work. It's hard work. You have to work at it, but you have to have a commitment to hold on. when relationships get rocky, when we talk about things like us disagreeing with one another. One of the hallmarks of love, one of the benchmarks of love is it aims and holds on tightly to relationships. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some relationships that are not healthy, that need to be let go of in time. But what I am saying is where you have good friends, where you have strong family, where you have that support base, don't take that lightly. Don't abandon those relationships lightly. And particularly, I'd even say that to young people as you grow. You might not value the relationship even with your parents or others, but if you have good friends and good family, hang on to it. Hang on to it. It'll do you well in the time to come. And the fourth hallmark here is give preference to one another in honour. And what this actually means is take the lead in valuing other people. Love doesn't stand around and wait for someone else to initiate the honouring process. True love, real love, has the courage to step out, as it were, and take the lead. And I think if it's one of the things we have to do as the Church of Jesus Christ and as Christians. And believe me, I'm not good at this. I'm not a particular people person. I'm not a Keith and I'm not a Lindy and whatever. So for some of it's harder, but it's saying give preference. Take the lead. Don't just stand back and wait. But in valuing other people. And quickly with those things, I'm not sure where my time is at. I'll run out, but we'll get there, and then I'll go a bit longer anyway. So, but there is something. There is another trend that is emerging in today's world that I want to touch about, and at least I would say on the surface, it's something that we agree with, or it seems to agree with in principle, with our beliefs and values as Christians, and it is actually a hallmark which I would define today as probably in the world's view, in society and cultural values, the preeminent current way that love is defined by the world, not by the church. Although I'll hit us in the head in a minute. And it's best defined in very simple terms as accepting people as they are. And many of us would agree in principle with that idea. In fact, the church has really encouraged some of that ideal through our preaching of the unconditional love of God. And we would, I've probably heard it said that, God loves you just as you are. My problem, and I'll get you to hang on in a minute. My problem is that in today's culture, there is a narrative that is already very strong, and it says basically this. It's a thinking that unless, let me read it so I get it right in the way I've written it. My problem with this line of thinking is that one particular narrative seems to suggest quite strongly that if we do not unconditionally accept and support, and I mean openly support a person or group's view of themselves and vigorously support their rights and choices, then we are in fact unloving. It suggests this to the degree that if we oppose these ideologies, we are deemed to be not progressive in our beliefs, in our values. And as such, our beliefs and our views are irrelevant and in fact invalid. And that people who hold these views that don't agree with the current cultural phenomenon, in fact, should not have a voice in today's society. They should be silenced and they should not be heard. And we see that in mainstream culture. So my question is, can I disagree with you? Can I not hold the beliefs that you hold closest to you, but still exhibit love? Can I be loving in a world that tells me that if I hold certain views, I'm unloving? Now, the next statement, I don't want you to run out of the room because I am going to offend some of you. So I thought about this very carefully, and either side or as part of your seat, there are two little silver bars and right beside your hips, and if you hang on to them and give me the grace to go through what I want to go through, I'm sure you will see what I'm saying. I'm not trying to be unloving. Unconditional acceptance is not a trait of love. Now, I know that will, in its appearance, appear very unchristian. Unconditional acceptance is not a trait of love. Let me explain, and you'll see where I want to go with this. Acceptance may be defined as assent, agreement with, or approval of a position, situation, or condition without attempting to change or protest it, even if that position is uncomfortable or negative for you. Love does not mean and does not equate to acceptance. Any of you that are married here will know that you can love someone without agreeing with everything they say and do and believe. It's something that I think this is very, very important that we get straight in our thinking. Because what is happening in our day and age is a redefining of the baseline of what love is and how we can express it. And what it's doing is taking away our right and the right of many, that unless you agree with something and express things the way they want you to express it, then in fact we are being unloving. And this is having a tremendous impact on the church. And I think it becomes confusing for us as Christians if we don't know how to think through that process and how to answer or how to look at it in a more biblical fashion. See, none of us here, I will guarantee that there is not a person in this room that truly accepts another person. That is, listen to the definition, without change or protest. Without change or protest. You see, part of the very essence of love is not that we just disagree with the negative aspects of a person's personality or activity. It's that the essence of love and the hallmark of love, of true love, is it sees and works towards the potential development of what a person can be, not just what they are. And you can't separate that from love. I'm a granddad now for the sixth time this week. Lisa is my daughter, and Dean, my son-in-law, and so we've got 6 grandchildren. And you'll often see me in the cafe after church playing with my 8.5-month-old, I don't know what he is, grandson, like that every time. 2 weeks ago I thought he was 4 months old and they told me he was 8, so but whenever, now I love him to bits, but the fact is, in my love, I don't accept him as he is. You watch me with him, and I'm trying to teach him to talk. I'm trying to teach him to walk. I'm trying to change him from what he is right now into what he can be. And by the definition of acceptance, we shouldn't, if I accepted him, I wouldn't try to change him. But the fact is, the very hallmark and essence of love, and even the moral obligation of love, is, we see one another's faults, we see one another's limitations. We know those things, but we see the true potential of what a person can be. And that's the hallmark of God's love. We see what can be. One definition that I read of agape is the love of God that we know and have come to understand. And it says, agape is love that impels one to sacrifice oneself for the benefit of the object loved. It speaks of a love which is awakened by a sense of value in the object love, an apprehension of its preciousness. A gemologist can hold a raw diamond in their hand, and they look at that raw stone, but they can see its inherent worth, its inherent preciousness. And their job is to cut it and to refine it and to bring out from within it the true preciousness, the true value of what it can be. And that is the essence, and that is the truth of love. Love manifest, love expressed, sees not only what is, but it sees what inherently is and seeks to sacrifice and do everything it can to draw out of that person who they can be. That's what I do with my children. That's what I do with my grandchildren. I draw out of them. I don't accept them as they are, because they can be more than what they are. I look, and so it's not that we don't accept people, it's that we value people. And those two words are completely different in their meaning. As Christians, with the love of God in our heart, we value people. We see their inherent worth. We see their inherent beauty and potential. And God, even the love of God is expressed. If God accepted people as they are, the cross would be irrelevant. There would be no need for the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. God doesn't accept us as we are in our sin, in our fallen state. It's not because he hates what we do. It's because he sees who we can be. And if you read your Bible carefully, it tells you that the whole purpose of that is so that God can recreate us in the image of Jesus Christ. so he can draw us more and more towards the potential of who we can be. And to do that, he can't accept us as we are. Not in that full or true definition of the sense of accepting. He does protest. He does challenge us. He does challenge our thinking. Matter of fact, he says, be renewed by the spirit of your mind. Change the way you think. God challenges the way we think. He challenges what we believe. There are things that I've changed over the years in what I believe and how I act because I want to express more fully the love of God. And so I want to challenge you this morning. As the Church of Jesus Christ, don't accept people as they are, but value them for who they can be and who they are right now. Let me close with these 3 points, and I'm just going to read them straight out as I have them written. Love never accepts what is at the expense of what can be. Love, to the best of its ability, serves and sacrifices in order to supply the means and opportunity for change, for growth and development of the human potential towards that which is morally good. And think about this one. You will never be more the person you are capable of being than when you choose to love. You will never be more the person you can be than when you choose to love. God bless you. Thank you for this morning.